Hey there! Today we're going to talk about an ink that has sparked a lot of discussion. I would even go so far, I think, as to say it has sparked some controversy. I don't know of any other ink that has ever done that, and the ink I'm talking about is, of course, Baystate Blue. Now, what's the problem? What's the issue, I should probably say? The issue is that some people have claimed that this ink actually stains their pens, stains especially the plastic parts of pens. And there has been a fairly heated debate actually on the Fountain Pen Network quite a while ago. And you know, the big issue is, can you use this ink safely or can you not? Well, let me say this about that. I like this ink. I like the color. It's the most vibrant blue I know, but I have a sort of a love-hatred relationship with it, and I think a lot of people do. I once dropped a cap of a Kaweco Sport, which is a clear plastic fountain pen. I dropped the cap in a simple container which contained water and some Baystate Blue because I was cleaning a pen. It was this container. There's actually still some blue residue from that ink left in there. And I thought, well, the cap's in, I'll get it out in a few minutes. And that's what I did, and when it came out, the cap was blue. It had been clear plastic, something like, this type of plastic, and it was just blue. It had become a transparent blue. And I thought, whoa, that's a serious effect. I've never seen that with an ink. And don't forget, like, this was maybe 1/10 of ink on 90% water, and even that had the power to do this. So I was a bit shocked. Now, just to tell you the whole story, I put the cap. I checked out Noodler's website and this discussion on the Fountain Pen Network. And Mr. Nathan Tardif recommended, not to me, but in general, to put the affected part of the pen in some bleach with water. I think 25% bleach and 75% of water. And I did that, and the whole staining was gone, and the cap was good as new. So even if stuff gets stained, you can probably reverse it. Now, the big question, I think, is if this is what the ink does to plastic, then what does it do to nibs? Does it do anything to the gold of a nib, or the gold plating of a nib? But to tell you the truth, the simple answer is I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't tried this. My personal rule after this discoloration thing is that I put Baystate Blue in any pen that cost me less than $20. I do that with comfort, and it's always worked out. I can bleach this stuff a bit if it discolors, and that's it. But really expensive pens, I don't put the ink in. This does not mean that it is not safe to do so. I have no physical reasons to assume that it is not safe. I have no reasons to assume that it will eat away the nib while you write. Let's be fair about this. It's an interesting ink. It's an ink that has a bit of a manual, but it's a nice ink. So you have now been forewarned. More than enough talk. Be a little careful with the ink. Clean your pen well after use. And that's all there's to it. If you have any questions, feel free to post comments below. I would definitely like to hear your experience. I know there are many of you out there who use this ink. Tell me what happened to your pens. Were they discolored? Did everything run just fine? The purpose of this video is not to say that this is a bad ink, because again, I love it. I love the color. I'm just a little bit extra careful with this ink. And that's all there's to it. So, let's have a writing sample. Let's see how that works out. And that's it. So I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Alright, here we go, all the way from Massachusetts. We come with the Baystate blue ink. Okay, let's do some parking. No, wait, let's do some writing, of course. Here we got Baystate blue, made by Noodlers. Okay, so here we have it. Well, let's start with some simple writing. My lighting, I'm still working on that. This is the best I can do. So let's start with some fine. Fine. Then we have a medium. We move on to a broad. When I say broad, I mean a broad nib. I don't mean that we will have a lady brought in to do some writing. That was sexist. The quick brown fox. Oh dear, a dog goes berserk. Just when I was writing dog. Okay, then we have an italic. Actually, the dog's female. Maybe it was the broad joke that sort of set her off. Okay, so there we have it. Now, let's do some passes. First of all, note the lack of shading. I mean, maybe it's me, but I have never seen any shading in Baystate blue. So if you're looking for an ink that really shades, this is not it. Then again, from the top of my head, I can't remember a whole lot of inks that actually shade and that are blue, except blue blacks. When you take a black like Bleu Nuit by Gerbin and some others, I mean you have a lot of blue blacks, then I think you will actually get some shading, but with these typical blues, I don't think you'll see an awful lot of shading. Okay, here we have some passes. 1, 2, 3. So we have a single pass, double pass, and a third pass. Of course, there's only one pass right now, but I will come back to that later. Let's do a bit of writing. Here we have a fine, but I'll start to flex a bit more here. Baystate blue. Although this says fine, obviously I'm not using the fine, I'm using the flex of this Noodler's pen here, but you know, just to give you an idea, this would be fine. and this would be flex. I actually have a feeling I may see a little bit of shading in here. So there's a little bit of light blue and darker blue, but the shading is not, I mean, that's not the strong point of this ink. Medium. I try to put a bit of flex in here, but this is not really a flexy nib, so... For some reason I just wrote Twilight. I don't know why. I should have written down Baystate Blue. Actually, I do know why. I have the sample of the previous ink I did for the Inkcylopedia right there, and I just copied it because my brain shut down. Sorry. Medium. Medium. You cannot deny, I mean, forget all the discussion sparked by this ink. You cannot deny the intensity of the blue. I really love that. Absolutely love it. Let's see how dry that is. Okay. So here we have a second pass. And we have it here too. I'll wait and I'll come back for the third and final pass. Broad. I'm applying some pressure here too. Okay. Again, Lamy is not the flexiest of nibs in this pen. It's just stainless steel, no gold or anything. Medium, no, broad, of course. How could I forget? Broad. Adjusting the light a bit here, sorry. And then, italic. Bit of poor foundational calligraphy. Baystate Blue. Italic. Oby KB. I think this is dry. Right. Well then. There we go with the third and final pass. You shall not pass. Actually, I did so just now. Well, that's what I tell my students too, by the way. You shall not pass. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, so you see the difference, I guess. You'll see it even better in the still shots with better lighting and all that. But I think you can see the dark, the blue gets very dark and very intense with a lot of passes. But again, when it comes to shading, I do see a bit of it here in this extremely wide 6mm nib. But this is just not a shading ink. Okay. Let us do some water-resistant proof-like tests, like things with the stuff and the things going on. Right, we'll just wait for that to dry up a bit. The neighbours are doing some do-it-yourself work. ends the drill or whatever it is you hear in the background. Okay, well, we'll just wait for this to dry a bit. Dry. Dry. Oh, look. It's dry. That's the thing I like about Baystate Blue. It does actually dry fairly quickly. So that may be something you could actually desire. If you want a fast drying ink, then this may be it. Alright, let's put this just under that for the sort of protect that from the water. Here we get some water. I'm just putting some water in here just to sort of amuse you, because otherwise this is a bit of a dry part to watch even though it's wet. Okay, here I go with a simple brush and water. Well, hell, look at that. Hardly anything happens and it's pretty wet. If you compare that to Diamine Twilight, which I tested the last time, look at the difference. See that? That's just smeared out. So is this. Whereas this ink seems unaffected. And I think that's one of the claims of Baystate Blue, of Noodlers. I'm checking out the bottle right now. No, there's nothing on the bottle that actually indicates it's waterproof, but I do seem to remember a very, very extensive sort of demonstration by Mr. Nathan Tardif of Noodlers on YouTube, where he does all kinds of water tests, and let's face it, this is impressive. There's a lot of water on there, right? I mean, it's really, really wet, and the ink just does nothing. It just stays on there. You see a little bit of blue smearing there, but clearly the writing is still very legible. So I think we have to conclude that this ink is completely waterproof. I'll just try to get rid of the excess water there. That was a lot of water. What do I do with this? More. Right, there we go. That should be pretty dry now. Okay, so there we go. Let's give this a sort of a scorecard. Sorry about that. Just have to arrange some stuff here. There we go. A scorecard. What have we learned about this ink? Well, the color is definitely quite a vibrant blue, I'd say, if you don't mind. Then we have a shading. Nay, I don't see any shading. Flow. That's pretty good. I really have had no problems with startup issues or flow issues. Once the ink writes, it writes and it doesn't stop. So I think that's fairly impressive. What about feathering? Well, I don't know about you, but I don't see a whole lot of feathering, even with this extremely wide nib. Now this is good paper, so I'll come back to that with the printer paper. But for now, I would say feathering is good. There's not a whole lot going on. Now I'm running out of space here, but I'll just continue here because it's fun. Drying time. This feathering is caused by the water, of course. Now drying time, I wrote the word, and it's pretty much dry. There's a little bit of, I sort of wiped that out, but oh dear, what am I doing? Drying time, I would say, is short. Again, there's water here. Okay, I'll do it here. I'll do it here just to make the point. Dry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's pretty much dry. I know there's a little bit. I wiped it out a bit, but generally speaking, it's dry. I mean, if I now do this, Here we got some Mont Blanc Toffee Brown. I do what I just did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see the difference? That's the difference right there. Okay. Point made. Waterproofness. If you can read that. Well, it says waterproofness. Now you know. Excellent. Two things someone suggested, maybe not the same person, but that I should add that. Cleaning. Ease of cleaning. Well, I would say medium at best, because, as I said, you know, there's the staining of the plastic. I have seen that in some pens, so I would really do what they recommend on the bottle, and that is really clean this thoroughly after use. But yeah, okay, so clean it well. Is it easy to clean? Yeah, generally I think it is, but you may want to add some bleach to your water to make plastic return to its usual transparency. Okay, so then the final thing we have is bleed through. Bleed through. My writing is seriously suffering. I've been inhaling some ink fumes, I'm afraid. Well, let's have a look at that then. You see any bleed through? I do, right there. But that's with a huge nib and 3 passes of the ink. But for regular writing, I would say the bleed through is almost non-existent. You see a little bit of shade through there. And you see bleed through there, but again, that's a lot of ink with a broad nib and water. So I would say bleed through is excellent. So you don't have a whole lot of bleed through. But let's also check that on a cheaper type of paper. And let's do so right now. Here we have some simple copier paper. And I would say let's go through the motions. So, what do we have? We have... I'm trying to find a cap here. Here we go. Here we have a fine pen, a fine nib. That's actually also a fine pen. There is water on here. The things I have to put up with. Fine. The fine brown fox. Jumps over the Baystate blue. See a whole lot of feathering? I see a little bit, but I actually think that I put some water on there because of this thing. Let's dry that off. Whoa! I just launched a pen. There we go. So this is completely dry now. There's a little bit of ink on there, but I'll survive. You see any feathering? Remember, this is a lot cheaper paper. Feathering. I do see some feathering. But that is when I'm laying down a lot of ink with a flex nib and on cheaper paper. With the regular writing, I don't see a whole lot. But that's in a fine nib. So let's see what happens if we move to a broader nib. This is of course a medium nib, but it is broader than fine. The medium blue fox. Jumps over some stuff. Oh, a little bit of skipping there, but that's just me. I'm just waiting a bit for the ink to dry. I don't see it's pretty quick drying. I don't see a whole lot of feathering right now, actually. There's a little bit, but it's not a whole lot. Broad. The tough brown fox jumps over the wise guy from Boston. See any feathering? I do. I see some feathering right there. This is a broad nib, though. Italic. The Italian fox jumps over the italic nib. See any feathering? I see feathering. I see feathering right there. I see it right there. See it here. Definitely see it there. Okay, so I think that with a very broad nib on this cheap paper, you will see some feathering. Is that a problem? Well, that of course depends on you and what type of paper you use. I saw almost no feathering in the Rhodia. So, you know, if you're forced to work on paper like this and you have a broader nib, you may have an issue, because I think with the finer nibs it wasn't really a problem. Nice sound, right? This is pretty fine. I see a little bit of feathering. Not extremely pronounced, but I do see it. Alright. How do I do this? Well, this is some poor, fast, Gothic, not sharp enough, not defined well enough. This is really bad. But I just want to do some quick writing to get some idea of the feathering here. Well, you definitely see it here, right? That's unmistakable. So there's feathering. There's your feathering. Here we got the feathering. Feathering, boys, right there. Okay, so I may be tempted to add something here. Feathering is good. I'll say more pronounced. You probably can't read this anyway because I'm writing through all sorts of stuff here. More pronounced on cheaper paper. Okay. Remember that. Right then, so what about this paper and water? What about a lot of water? Why I've got to give the ink that it will not dissolve in water. In fact, it just laughs at water. Haha, water! Won't do a bloody thing to us. So there you go. Okay, so there you have it. This is the Inkcylopedia entry for one of the more, I'm not going to say controversial, but one of the more discussed inks out there. I think you can use this ink. I think you may want to clean your pen a bit more often. I told you, I personally only put this in cheaper pens. That's my personal choice. I love the color. I think it's a very nice, very intense, very vibrant blue. But, you know, every ink has its issues, and with this one you may want to clean your pen a bit more often. And that's all there's to it. So I hope this was useful. I hope this has convinced you that the ink will not actually eat away your nib while it's in the pen. But just be a little careful. Okay, so that's all for now. I'll see you later. Bye bye.